So some big changes over the weekend to the top 8 pecking order. Some scores settled at the other end of a ladder. The good, the bad, the ugly. No, hang on, that's ours. It's all wrapped up neatly in hot or not. All right, I'm going first this week, and it's a good news story, Finey, a definite hot, and his name is Sam Menegola. Fantastic debut for the Cats. Big game, came into the side, 26 possessions. That's a good enough story in its own right. Just see some footage of him here. But he was first in the AFL system in 2011. Spent a year at Hawthorn, broke a scaphoid badly, got cast off at the end of that year, picked up by Fremantle, did a bad knee injury there. I think the meniscus, that kept him out for at least a year, if not more. Went to Subiaco, got injured, came back halfway through the year and played good enough footy to come third in the Sandover. Goes to Geelong, injures a knee again, misses half a season. But talk about patience. He's a lovely bloke. I've interviewed him and he deserves all the success, and I think he's going to stay in that side now for the rest of the year.
He's been on more lists than bread, milk and a dozen eggs.
Very good, very good.
But he's been persistent. There are stories of persistence now in the AFL, and it just goes to show that there are guys in the VFL, Waffle and Sandful, well worth pursuing.
Absolutely. You're up.
I'm going to start with a hot, and it's back to the St Kilda win over the Bulldogs, but also their win over Melbourne and Geelong. There's a kid called Jade Gresham. Now, he is a star. He came to St Kilda through the Carlisle deal, and if Carlisle doesn't play a game, St Kilda is still ahead. He has got the best sidestep in the AFL already. He works off the left foot, he works off the right foot. He's made the likes of Paddy Dangerfield and Liam Picken, who's a known stopper, look silly as he stepped past them. He's a really beautiful mover. He's getting high possessions and meaningful possessions at the right end of the game. He's going to be a star if he isn't already.
Great reflexes and great footy brain too, which is something you can't always take for granted these days. So no, I'm with you on that one for sure. Okay, and not for me next. I've done this road before this season, but I'm sorry, demands a repeat. Fremantle. What a ridiculous fall from grace this has been. This is a side that played off for a spot in last year's grand final. Yes, they've had a few injuries, Fife, Sandilands, etc., but they have been shocking, and they go up to Metricon Stadium. They're playing a side with, I think, 8 of its best 22 missing, most of its midfield, and they turn in this sort of limp-wristed effort. 4-goal loss, but it looked worse than that. And they just turned it up at the end again. They never looked likely to win once they fell behind in that last quarter. And we're sort of buying this excuse about, changing of the guard, rebuild, blah, blah, blah. Well, that side on Saturday, you know how many players out of the preliminary final played in that game? 15. 15, I tell you, Finey.
Yeah, they've got a lot of guys there that are just biding. They're sort of biding their time and they're not going anywhere. Ibbotson, Subans, De Boers. Look, their issue is they're not a destination club. Bar Cam McCarthy, who's sort of already put his cards on the table, would you really want to go there? He's an intense coach, Ross Lyon. It's going to be a long road back, and it'll be a hard road for any player that takes on the job of playing for Fremantle.
Well, I think I said this early in the year. They reminded me very much of St Kilda 2011, and the Saints actually ended up making the finals that year. But I think these blokes collectively realised they couldn't win the flag. The window was closed, and they just thought, nah, we can't mentally saddle up again.
Yeah, it's intense under Ross Lyon. There's a single-mindedness about him, and he passes it on to his players. They're not given expansive roles, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of room to go out there and do something different, be a different player and enjoy your football. It's all about winning or losing, and when you're losing under Ross, it ain't fun.
No, I agree. Your turn.
The bump is dead in football.
Again.
It was killed in the Carlton versus Sydney game. Have a look at this incident with Naismith and Sam Doherty. Now, Doherty's got the ball. Sam Naismith has laid a really good shoulder-to-shoulder bump, and the umpire's reaction was straight away to pay too high.
Which is patently wrong. I mean,
it's completely wrong. The match review panel didn't even look at this free kick, but such is the instinct now for umpires to consider a bump a dangerous ploy in football, that totally legitimate, goal-stopping potentially bump, excellent play by Big Naismith, was penalised. The bump's almost dead.
Well, I'd tend to agree, not about it necessarily being dead, but I think the AFL needs to come out there and say that was the wrong decision. This is a perfect bump. Otherwise, yeah, you're right. I mean, even a legitimate bump's going to be penalised just by habit more than
Correct.
the actual...
That's what it was. And,
Yeah.
and what you said is spot on, and they didn't do that, which means that their aimed goal, which I think started under Andrew Demetriou, was to make this game safer and more attractive to mums, has no bump in it. And it's a great pity because the bump, when well executed like that, Doherty would have gone through Naismith had he tried to tackle him. He had too much momentum, and Naismith's a big man. He got down and for a ruckman delivered a beautiful bump. I'm really upset by that.
No, I agree. Okay, last ones. My last one is a hot, and it goes to GWS. And we'll probably hear a bit more about these guys, I suspect, over the next 6 weeks. But this was a massive game for them. They were 7th on the ladder going into this game on Sunday. 20 points down at one stage, I think, in the third quarter. Port at home, you thought, oh, okay, well, not just yet, Giants. You've still got a bit of maturity. And they found a way. They steeled themselves, came home like a train. And once they hit the front, they never really looked like losing. Now, that win catapulted them from 7th to 2nd on the ladder. Will they stay there? You have a look at their draw. I think they're every chance. I think they're every chance of staying in the top 4. A lot will depend on where they play and whom they play, but it's been a remarkable season, and not many sides, I reckon, going into the first finals appearance by a group of players, let alone a club, will be as well placed as they are.
I shall keep my powder dry. I will unwrap and explain GWS in all their monstrous glory during my rant.
All right, last one.
It's pretty obvious. Not hot is Richmond. Many years ago, or some years ago, I used the word, and it wasn't commonly used in football then, putrid, to describe a performance by Bernie Vince. Well, I apologise, Bernie, because this really was putrid. Richmond on the weekend played the most appalling brand of football. They chose to be defensive. They had no daring do about them. They kicked the ball backwards, but they don't even have the ability to do that. So they trip the ball around the back line until one of them miskicks it, and the end result is what you got on the weekend. A disengaged Hawthorn played for 6 minutes. I mean, Damien Hardwick said it was a disgrace. They won by 70 points, Hawthorn. They didn't get their hair mussed. It was like a practice match for them. It was pitiful. Richmond are at an not all-time low, but their supporters must be sick with the knowledge that they are a long, long way away from that, not even ultimate success, winning a bloody final.
Well, I think it's clearly the lowest point of the Hardwick era, because it's the first season you can look at them and say they absolutely haven't progressed at all. They've gone backwards. Even in the elimination final losses, you know, they won 15 games. This has been a stinker of a year, and something's got to give, I reckon.
I mean, just very quickly, Dustin Martin's had his reputation enhanced. Alex Rance maintains his great reputation. Players have been, except for Greg, everybody else has been shredded. Rewalt's not playing well. Cochrane's seen as ineffective. Delidio's not engaged. What's happened to Edwards? What's happened to their middle-rung players? Brandon Ellis gets a game every week. I mean, fair income. They have been shredded this season.
No, so you're right. There's a bit of cream on top, but no cake underneath it, unfortunately.
Yeah, they're creamy.
Look, the move was a big move, and in the end, it was great to live up there for 8 or 9 years, whatever it was. A different life in those days in Sydney, in that, well, not that it's that much different.